Good morning, class. My name is Segundo Ecla Romero, and I'm your professor here in this course on Inclusive Cities, DS 187.4. There are two classes in this course. There's a morning class and there is an afternoon class. So this particular presentation is being beamed to both classes. I apologize that I will not be able to meet you today face to face. I have to be at the House of Representatives to give a presentation to some of the staff there. This was scheduled way before. So I thought I will just give you a canned video to present to you the syllabus for our course. So, as you know, this is a course that is offered by the Development Studies Program, School of Social Sciences, and that the schedule is Tuesdays and Fridays, 9:30 to 11 o'clock, and 2 o'clock to 3:30. So, this 0300 to 5:30 is actually the schedule I had last time, so we need to correct this. Okay, so the course description is, let me see if I can zoom in so you can look at this particular document in a bigger. Okay. Oh, here. Okay. So this course introduces how excellent urban areas are neither accidental nor entirely spontaneous. Planned for ingredients of urban success are socioeconomic, social, and spatial inclusiveness, diversity, environmental sustainability, good governance, and creativity or innovation. So the course will facilitate and identify and analyze social inclusion, social exclusion, and inequality in urban areas and of emerging urban development strategies and planning interventions that aim to make cities more livable for all. Key concepts, tools, and best practices will be discussed, and selected experts from the field will from time to time be engaged as resource persons, mentors, to enable critical and practical appreciation, appraisal, and analysis and planning for more inclusive cities by the students. Okay, so we have the usual location of this particular course within the formation stages, and we are saying that this particular course addresses rootedness, investigating and knowing the world. It also contributes to deepening, defining the self in the world, and leadership, engaging and transforming the world. And the course learning outcomes are CLO1, understand and explain how inclusive development, inclusive security, and inclusive governance works in a city, and how related strategies, systems, and structures impact the lives of socially excluded groups. And by this, we mean the poor, vulnerable, marginalized, and the disadvantaged. The second course learning outcome is that this course will generate information, insights, and ideas about the life of socially excluded groups in urban settings. The third one is that the course will facilitate a multidisciplinary or multidimensional analysis of a problem issue of inclusive development, inclusive security, or inclusive governance in a city. The fourth is that we want to formulate an innovative and inclusive development strategy, system, structure, or initiative to solve a problem of socially excluded groups. Fifth, we want to formulate stakeholder analysis to explain the dynamics of conflict and cooperation among key stakeholders in inclusive city planning, policymaking, and or program design and implementation. Finally, the sixth is that we want to present grounded scenarios for an inclusive city, referencing illustrative models and cases. So you look at these six, they seem to be ambitious, but I guarantee that there will be something in the course that addresses each of these, and hopefully we fulfill or achieve all of these objectives. Okay, so let's move on to our course structure and learning hours. So basically, we have 5 modules. The first one is on the fundamentals of inclusive cities. We are going to spend 12 hours on this. Half of it will be, of course, in our class sessions, and half of it will be the time that you spend in preparing for the class. So basically, you will see there from learning hours, there will be 47% synchronous and about 53% will be asynchronous. So about 50-50 in sessions and in preparation time that is allowed you. In Module 2, we focus on social exclusion in cities, concept, causes, and consequences. And we are going to spend 9 hours on that. Module 3, transformative processes, design, governance, and community engagement. This will take up 18 hours. Module 4, inclusive city challenges and responses. This is the longest module. There are going to be 27 hours devoted to this particular module. Module 5, this is where we start integrating our perspectives, our knowledge, and our insights. And this is where we also present our group projects. Module 5, inclusive cities, integrative city strategies and systems. That's going to take up 24 hours. And the total for synchronous and asynchronous learning time is 90 hours. Next, let me talk about the assessment tasks for this particular course. I am going to require individual reflection essays that respond to the class discussion questions that are posted. Well, the questions are posted here in our syllabus. You will count them. There are 69 of them spread across the topics. But the individual reflection essays you are going to post on Canvas. And you have to post them within specified deadlines. They have to be posted on the midnight, by the midnight of the day before we are going to take it up in class. So if you miss that deadline, you will not be able to get credit for that discussion because you will no longer be able to post it on Canvas. Now, as to the time that you can post on Canvas, there is no starting point there. In other words, as soon as the course starts, you can already start writing all of your individual reflection essays. So even for the last discussion question, you can already, if you are ready and you have the time, you can already start posting on it. So there is no set starting time for this discussion. So I'm doing that to give you a lot of flexibility. Some of you might have time on your hands at certain points, and therefore you might want to already do advanced readings and advanced essays. Now, you are supposed to do only 10 essays, maximum of 500 words, which is at most 1 page of an A4 piece of paper. There will be maximum of 25 points for each essay. So a total of 250 points you can earn for doing these 10 essays. So remember, there are 69 class discussion questions. You are supposed to write only about 10 of these. And you may choose which one you are going to write on, except that you cannot write any 2 essays on the same topic. And the modules are divided into topics. Okay, and then the topics are divided into subtopics. So please refrain from answering the 3 questions that are available for each subtopic, because I want you to spread your reading across the whole scope of the syllabus. So I want you to read and discuss 10 discussion questions in different subtopics. Okay. So anyway, I'll explain that a little bit more. So how do we judge these mini essays that you're writing? Well, the first one is that you must give a succinct, direct answer to the discussion question. That is worth 10 points. So answer the discussion question. And where do you get the answer? Of course, you can get that from the general required readings or for the recommended specific readings. The recommended specific readings are listed. They are for your information. There is no guarantee, however, that they will be available. These are culled from similar reading lists. And so I thought that giving the references to you might enrich your reading. However, only the general required readings are available in Canvas. And also the main references at the end of this syllabus are all available on Canvas. But the specific readings that are recommended are not. So I wish you luck in hunting for this material. Some of you might be better hunters than others. But generally, you should be able to answer the discussion question regardless of which materials, relevant materials you read. So that's number one. Succinct, direct answer to the discussion question, 10 points. Now, I want you to quote a relevant passage from a reference or reading that you are using. So that is worth 5 points. Then, at least one 6 thinking hat perspective. Now, my previous students will know what the 6 thinking hats are about, but these are different ways, different perspectives associated with different colors that enable you to present different perspectives on the same topic. I'll explain a little bit more. So this is worth 5 points. So at least one, if you wanted to present 2 perspectives, then you can do so. Number 4, provide an illustrative case or critical incident or a dilemma or problem, innovation, perspective about a Philippine city that is drawn from your personal experience or outside reading. So you may bring in material that you learned about in some other class, or maybe the hometown where you grew up in. So provide that perspective, and that makes up 10 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5 makes 25 points. Now, the written essays, I repeat, should be submitted by specified deadlines as specified in Canvas, and late submissions will automatically be excluded. Okay, then we are going to, of course, discuss the material that we submit on Canvas, and we need to give time to that, answering the questions, class discussion questions that we pose. We are using class discussion questions because we want to have a focused discussion on the really important questions that we need to answer in this class. So we are going to have discussions in our face-to-face or online synchronous meetings. And we may use some visual collaboration tools like Mural, Mentimeter. So we'll see how it goes. That's going to be very interesting. We'll try to gamify our discussions. That's worth 250 points. And I imagine that for each student, there will be 10 recitation, discussion, workshop engagements, or points, observable incidents, and you can earn a maximum of 250 points for that. And finally, there's going to be a group inclusive city dilemma or scenario project worth 250 points. And there will be a written report. There will be a report presentation in class. Each of those will be worth 100 points each. And there will be a peer evaluation of how you work together. So that's 50 points, a total of 250 points. Finally, there is a final examination worth 250 points. And these are 25 multiple choice exam items. Each item will be worth 10 points, and you can earn a maximum of 250 points. So if you read the materials, if you listen to the discussions, you should be able to answer the multiple choice exam questions easily. So that gives us 1,000 points. So what are our assessment items? We have an individual reflection essay, 10 of them, participation in class discussions. There will be observable points, maybe 10 for each student. There will be a group project, and then there will be a final examination of 25 multiple choice items. Now, that final examination will fall on an online session. Okay, so let's go to our teaching and learning methods. If you have any questions, please write them down, and you can post them on Canvas so that I can answer them even before we have our next session on Tuesday. I'm sorry. Our next session is on Tuesday, right? Okay. So the schedule for the entire course is indicated below. The module titles are provided with corresponding readings, so you don't have to really guess which ones you have to read. The required and general readings can be accessed in the files section of the Canvas platform. And the hyperlinks to these key readings are provided in the course schedule. Now, accessing the specific recommended readings is left to the students on a best effort basis. So basically, they become optional. But some of you might really be interested in this course, and you might want to put in a lot more time. So those students who are looking towards a career in inclusive cities, maybe working for local governments or becoming mayors yourself someday, you may want to, well, put in more time. But that is time, that is an achievement that will work for you down the road as you pursue your career. But for the rest of the students, you may just go with the flow and answer the discussion questions in your reflections, do your group work, make sure you pass the exam, and participate in the class discussions. Okay, the main learning method, I'm talking about the individual self-reflection essays. The main learning method is the discussion of student reflection mini essays. Oh, this is now 500 words minimum. So please change that via the asynchronous discussion facility of the Canvas platform. Remove the S from that Canvas. Each student can choose any 10 of the 69 class discussion topics for his/her discussion work. No two topics may come from the same unit or subunit. This discussion unit's inputs will be presented and synthesized in the next scheduled class session. Deadlines for submission of the reflection essays are Canvas regulated and are non-negotiable. Grades for discussions will be promptly recorded to enable students to assess their progress. Of course, I will try to give your grades as fast as I can when you post them. But since this is a big class and there are two classes, there might be a lag. But I will do my best. Now, selected students who shared discussions of the focal discussion questions will be asked to present orally to the class. So about maybe 3 individual presentations will be shared, each one answering a different question or presenting a different perspective. So we will be pretty much programmatic in the way we learn to ask the questions and we learn how to answer them. Now, see the evaluation rubric in the assessment task box above, which I already presented. How am I going to award the points for the discussions? Now, a device for diversifying and deepening the discussion of its reading by the students is the use of Edward de Bono's 6 thinking hats. The students are instructed to read the relevant readings or answer the discussion questions for the day. And briefly, the 6 thinking hats personas, 6 thinking hat personas are the following. When you say you are wearing the white hat, by the way, you have to declare that. In this particular mini essay, I'm wearing the white hat. And so I'm being objective and I'm doing a fact-finding presentation. So you wear the white hat to focus objectively on the available facts and figures. The red hat, when you say you wear the red hat, you talk about passion, intuition, and emotion. And wearing the red hat, you have to look at the problem using intuition, gut reaction, emotion, reporting whether people are happy or sad about a particular event. The black hat you wear to show caution, pessimism, somberness. You wear the black hat to be vigilant and consider the negative sides of the event, issue, or problem. When you wear the yellow hat, you exude hope and optimism. You wear the yellow hat to think positively. You consider all the benefits of the circumstances. Green hat is about creativity, inventiveness. You wear the green hat to get creative, invent new approaches, or talk about innovations. Blue hat is perhaps the most difficult to wear, but this is a stewardship hat about direction, synthesis, organization. You wear the blue hat to perform meta-thinking, focus on the process and method, and evaluate and direct progress in discussion, and synthesizing all viewpoints, almost like you are a moderator or chairman of a panel. So we will use Edward de Bono's 6 thinking hats for framing and diversifying the range of discussions. And class sessions may occasionally use a simulated talk show format, as if we were on TV, and we have people discussing a particular topic, and they are exchanging points of view, right? So we can do that. By the way, you may want to read from Google about Edward de Bono's six thinking hats, so you get a little bit some mastery on how you're going to use them. Okay, as I've said, the final exam will uh, consist of 25 multiple choice uh, test items, and that it will come at the end of the course. I've also talked about the Group Inclusive Cities Case Study Project. Of course, you have to be inclusive, you have to be multidimensional, you have to be participatory when you do that. Consultations, students are encouraged to talk to me at the end of the class. If you want to set an appointment, then we can do this mostly by Zoom, but I can also, during my class days, which are Tuesdays and Fridays, we can meet face to face. I usually hang out at the faculty lounge in the Gonzaga Hall building. Okay, I'm here in Group 8. I talk about how to prepare for the group project. So the students will be divided into 4 or 5 groups, depending on how many students we have. Hopefully just 4. Each group focusing on a different aspect of inclusive city, and it can be a dilemma or a scenario, such as housing, transportation, public spaces, social services, and economic opportunities. Of course, you can also do a dilemma, and then you do a scenario of how you are going to resolve that dilemma. That's also possible. The topic assignments, each group is assigned a specific inclusive city dilemma or scenario related to their assigned aspect. For instance, Group 1 could focus on affordable housing initiatives, Group 2 on accessible transportation options, and so on. Research and contextualization. Each group researches their assigned topic, including local examples, challenges, and innovative solutions. They should consider the needs and perspectives of marginalized and disadvantaged communities in their city. It is important to do number 4, identify stakeholders. Groups identify key stakeholders relevant to their dilemma or scenario, such as local government officials, community leaders, NGOs, and residents from marginalized communities. There's nothing to prevent you from going out there and interviewing some of these people. So that is your preparation tasks. The presentation development tasks, well, think of it as having a common presentation outline. So first, you have to have an introduction, briefly introduce the dilemma or scenario and its importance for an inclusive city. Then give me context and local color. Describe the current state of affairs, emphasizing the challenges faced by marginalized communities in the city. If possible, provide a real city as an empirical referent for the dilemma or scenario. Third, give your proposed inclusive dilemma or scenario. Present a detailed dilemma to be resolved or vision of an inclusive solution or initiative that addresses the identified challenges. Then, local stakeholders, highlight key stakeholders who should be involved in resolving the dilemma or implementing the scenario. Then you have a call to action. Encourage the audience, intended or actual audience of the report, to support and participate in the proposed solution. Finally, we emphasize incorporating local color, meaning use real-life stories and quotes from marginalized individuals to illustrate the challenges they face. Include images, maps, and data that reflect the neighborhoods and areas where these communities reside. Consider cultural and contextual elements to make the presentations relatable and engaging. Okay, the presentation delivery tasks will be at the end of the course, and each group will be given 15 to 20 minutes each Each group presents their inclusive city scenario or dilemma using the common outline. They showcase the research findings, propose solutions, and potential impact on marginalized communities. They weave in local color to humanize the challenges faced by marginalized individuals. And of course, the bigger the participation, the wider the participation of the members of the group, the better, right? We don't want just one person doing the whole report. Class discussion will be 15 minutes each. After each presentation, we open the floor for a 10-minute discussion where the other groups can ask questions and provide feedback, maybe 10 to 15 minutes. After all presentations, we allocate 15 minutes for a broader class discussion focusing on cross-cutting themes and potential synergies between the scenarios. By the way, there will be two sessions for the group presentations so that we have enough time for the presentations. Okay, now in the call to action section, encourage active participation and engagement from the audience. Imagine who they might be. Suggest ways individuals, communities, and stakeholders can contribute to or support the proposed solutions. Emphasize the role of collective efforts in creating a more inclusive and equitable city. Example, Group 3 might present on the topic of accessible public spaces. They could include a real story of a person with disabilities who struggles to access a local park due to lack of ramps and pathways. They could propose a scenario where all public spaces are designed to be inclusive with features such as ramps, tactile indicators, and braille signages. Their call to action might encourage attendees to advocate for universally accessible public spaces and engage with local disability organizations. Okay, the course schedule number 9. This is the longest item here. So let me just focus on the structure. Of course, the matrix has session and date, and topic and class discussion questions, suggested readings and references. As suggested readings may not all be available, as I've emphasized before, students may refer to other accessible sources. Okay, Module 1 is fundamentals of the city, and the main unit is introduction to inclusive cities. And of course, this is actually that session we're having now, August 11, Friday. And we're going to organize the class. And in organizing the class, I want you to well, think about organizing yourselves into groups and deciding what kind of dilemma or scenario you might want to work on. That is preliminary because I'm going to have to approve the topics that you have to make sure that they're not too broad nor they're not too small. Organization of the class also means that I want you to give me a class card next time we meet. Maybe a 3x5 class card. Please write your name. Please write your course. Please write your year. And then put a picture. Indicate the nickname you would want to be called by. And tell me about the cities. Identify the cities that you are familiar with, where you were born, where you grew up, and where you currently reside. Okay, so that is organization of the class. So please give this to me when we meet next time. Okay. So for each of these units, there are general references, and you can see here general references. And generally, the general references are available. You will find them on Canvas, or there are hyperlinks that are available. Now, the units are subdivided into subunits. Like here, it says definition of inclusive cities and their significance. This is where in the subunits, as in A1, we have class discussion questions for each. Okay? So when I was saying don't choose 2 or more sub-questions from each subunit, I'm saying answer only one of these 3. Don't answer all of them and submit 3 essays. Okay, so spread your 10 essays across different class discussion questions and subunits. So let me just go through this, definition of inclusive cities and their significance. A2 is principles of density, diversity, and accessibility in urban planning. So for the subunits, you only have recommended specific readings. Examine them for material that you might be able to use in answering the questions. Even if you are not answering a question, you please read on the material, okay? Because then I might ask you to participate in a class discussion or in a talk show on a particular topic, and you should be ready to participate. And then A3, we have case studies showcasing inclusive development strategies. Here, we want to identify some very specific examples of cities that have done well, and we want to remember them. Then we go into Module 2, Social Exclusion in Cities, Concepts, Causes, Consequences. We have here a deeper understanding of what social exclusion means. So we have required reading. You will have, of course, Amartya Sen, Social Exclusion, and some other general readings. And then B1, Concepts of Poverty, Vulnerability, Marginalization, and Disadvantage. Then we have the class discussion questions. Now, as you can see, there is one subunit to be discussed every session, right? So they are all programmatically arranged. B2, for September 1, Friday, Factors Contributing to Social Exclusion in Cities. Then you have your class discussions. B3, Analyzing the Experiences of Socially Excluded Groups. And then we move into Module 3, where, again, you have the required readings here. But here we're talking about transformative processes, governance, and community engagement. So we have C1, Role of Inclusive Governance in Addressing Urban Inequalities, Participatory Planning Approaches and Their Impacts, Case Studies on Participatory Budgeting and Community Engagement. You will notice that we are always trying to look at case studies because we want to look at empirical reference as real cases. Okay. Then we have inclusive security and conflict dynamics. And here we have understanding security concerns, socially excluded groups. Conflict and security are very important to the poor, vulnerable, and which is why we gave it a focus. So you have your class discussions here. Impact on urban violence on vulnerable communities. You have your class discussions. Conflict resolution and community policing strategies. Conflict resolution, like, alternative dispute resolution, ADR, these are important in making cities inclusive. So we have the discussion questions here. Module 4, Inclusive Cities, Challenges and Responses. This is your longest module. We have housing and urban development, mixed-use buildings and socialized housing initiatives, infill and brownfield development to revitalize marginalized areas, case studies on successful urban housing projects. Then we have mobility and accessibility, designing complete streets and accessible neighborhoods, promoting active transportation and transit-oriented development, enhancing mobility for the elderly and differently abled. Then we go into food, energy, and environmental security, urban agriculture as a tool for food security, sustainable energy solutions for socially excluded areas, rehabilitation and restoration of urban rivers and water bodies. And then we enter Model 5, where we have integrative strategies and systems. We look at multidimensional analysis of urban problems and their interconnectedness. We formulate inclusive development strategies. And this is where we present our group presentations, 2 sessions. I will give a summative integration lecture. I will ask you for your reflections, and then we will have our final examination on or about December 5. So that is our full semester, very meticulously programmed. If one day is declared a no class day, then we simply move on to the next scheduled topic. We are not going to adjust. We will simply skip. Okay, so we are not going to change this schedule. The main references are given here. I might be able to access some more important references, and I'll make them available to you. But as you can see, all of the links are already here. Grading system. Well, here are the total points you could earn, and then the letter grade and the point grade equivalence. So you will be able to more or less compute what your grade is as we go along. Class policies, please download the readings and come prepared for the class sessions. Upload deliverables on time. Outputs will be incrementally graded throughout the course. Please be guided by Section E, offenses involving dishonesty under Code of Discipline for students in the Student Handbook for undergraduate and graduate students. Also read the Loyola Schools Gender Policy. Consultation hours, as I've said, you can email me and you can make appointments after the class, and we can meet on Zoom or face to face. Okay, so that's our syllabus and program for the class. Please read this material, and if you have any questions, shoot them to me at sromero@ateneo.edu or on Canvas, and I will answer your questions. So this is our first session. And I'm sorry that I cannot meet you face to face today, but I think I've given you enough idea of how we are going to proceed in class. So please front load, meaning to say, do what you can already and don't wait until the last minute to do what you need to do. So I will end this presentation here. Please give me your 3x5 note cards with your name and the data that I requested, plus your picture, so that I will be able to remember your faces and associate them with your nicknames early in class. Okay, so that's it. Thank you very much. I will meet you next meeting. Goodbye.